cups with a third of it solidified at the bottom of the cup because I left them everywhere. But the pleasure that I got was this whole security. When someone else is in charge of you, there's a certain amount of security.
See, I did quit smoking a year ago, and now that question makes sense to me because I can take things taste better, they smell better. It's very different to be a non-smoker as opposed to a smoker, so I do understand.
So now you can see the pleasure. See, and this is, by the way, where this is flowing is to show that pleasure, but it's hard to see
while you're doing
it. When you're in the middle of it.
You can see when you become a spiritual person, actually, like you guys are injecting spiritualism to the study here and there to become a better person. Yes, if you become a spiritual, you bring it to your awareness that your body is like a shrine. You don't have no right to whatsoever to abuse it. And then you get sick, you're blaming God. So when you understand that, you really would not have any problem to quit if you decide to quit, if you chooses to quit.
Sure. Okay, so back to the coffee example, back to what you learned is that now there's flavor.
Oh yeah, so, things taste so much better, smell so much better, and I feel so much better.
Yeah. Okay, so those, you see, those are positive pleasures that almost someone, the big tiger, because now you're here on this end, can help somebody else that's still stuck eating grass.
Yeah, I mean,
smoking grass.
I was smoking, and I smoked for many, many years, and then I just decided I was done, and I was done.
Yeah. We try to use grass just to couple it to our analogy, but okay. So there. Oh, remind me, we need to talk about November 5th. Okay. So before you leave, catch me. So you remind me. I did just a quick check. It's good. Otherwise, I don't have those things. We're going to talk about. Okay. This is not like your wife when you walk home. It's just we
I'm about like, oh, you in trouble.
I'm not even coming home. I'm not doing it. All right. So, So the pleasure you get from not doing it. Let's think of some pleasures we got from not doing the things we wanted. What are some pleasures we got from not doing things? I got to watch my favorite TV show, right? If it was go to the gym, that's one. What we got?
Well, the pleasure that I've gotten from not doing the things that I did was
being free
from incarceration.
Huh?
Not committing a crime.
Yeah.
Keeps me out of incarceration.
Yeah. Okay. So when you committed a crime, though, there was pleasure in it. Was it excitement?
Oh yeah, see, I did the same.
Excitement.
I wrote down what he's wrong.
Well, no, you wrote them down at the end because you're over that hump. But remember, there's still a bunch of people that need our help. So I'm trying to get you to understand it from both sides.
Excitement, thrill,
Rush.
Financial gain, sure. And with the money, what did you do with the money? Because that would tie to the pleasure, right?
Cars, clothes.
The freedom to choose what you're going to buy, right? Because there's very little pleasure in a budget unless you're on the other side of it, right? And then the pleasure is, now imagine this. Anybody with debt who follows a one-year program, let's say from the start of Larson to 1 year later, on a day at which you follow a structured program, it's going to be hard, but at the end of that year, you're totally debt-free. You've paid off the last debt, and it's gone. And your credit score jumps to 730. How pleasurable will that day be? And won't that pleasurable be greater than the other pleasures? It'll be different, right? Because then it's pleasure based on achievement, which is all you. Right?
Yeah.
Not pleasure based on a moment where you're trying to escape something.
Yeah.
Right? See? Okay. So part of the way this structure was, again, there should have been another question in here between the questions to get you to say, there had to be something about it that you like. Right? And I didn't realize, I thought the coffee was the taste. It just turns out that it identified two issues with me, and that was my security. I got the security from it. And the second part was I noticed that I didn't have any limits. I was one of those people that you can't trust me with money and coffee. Right? Because I'd have all the coffee there was instead of just the cup I could buy. Do you see? So I had to make a decision on saying no, never again. 1991, I just made a decision, never another cup of coffee as long as I live. So so that I didn't kill my body with it at that time. I'm sorry, you were saying.
I was kind of looking at, throughout my life, when things got hard, it's easier to quit and go back to what you knew because you're comfortable there, rather than fight and go on and think, well, this is what I know. But if you try to go on and you still get blown back, then you're going, that's what I'm trying to change. No matter if it gets how bad it is, it can always change for the best. But at times I've said it to my buddy, yeah, it's just easier to quit. Just forget it. Go back to what I know.
Yeah.
That's not the answer.
Yeah, well, it could be easy to go back to what you know if the world was still back there with you. I remember it was 10 years ago doing the class at Catholic Charities. And here the dude's homeless, hardworking and so forth. There just weren't any jobs in the rest of the country that didn't require all these hurdles that they could work, except for Montana, North Dakota, and Idaho. That even in this town, if you went out and got money to mow someone's lawn, you got 2 misdemeanors. It's crazy, because now we've got government managing everything. We were just free to be able to work, pull weeds for somebody, get some cash. Now it's only good, now it only works if you're 12 years old.
Wow.
See, and it got so complicated, but see, only in North Dakota, Montana, and Idaho can you go up and down the street and say, hey, can I cut wood for you? You make your money, you live for the year, you're fine. And that's kind of the mentality we had, and what happened is the world got so much more complex with government than our ability to grow, to learn, to navigate. And so absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, just why even try? You know, what's the point? Why try? Well, now you can see if we look ahead a year like you just did with smoking, like we did with paying off a debt or a credit card achievement, and we started focusing on what that pleasure can be like. You can actually do this if you did it, right? I can beat the odds, I can go the distance. That's the only thing that's going to get you through it. Get you through the hard time. Otherwise, it'll always be easier to go back, or especially if there's a net for you. I just hate going back to where it's somebody else's line, with somebody else's food, making me wait for something that isn't even it isn't even tiger food.
Yeah, man, you got me stuck on this movie thing. I'd be like, man, I don't want to be a part of nobody else's movie but my own.
Right.
Yes.
One reason I'm going to Larson's is because I looked at my situation and I wanted to change. I wasn't happy with the way things were. I was willing to override whatever pleasure I was getting by not going to school. You know, it was alternative to working as well. But, you know, and I'm waiting to experience the effects of coming here. So I think all of us are in that position too.
Yeah. So let's take a gauge on that. Who's been here less than a week, less than a month? Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the less than a month just for a moment. You've noticed some effects, haven't you? Freedom of mind, bigger options to the world, right? What else? Give me some things you might have noticed in a month of this journey.
A way of thinking.
Way of thinking.
Memory.
Memory. Oh, your memories get better.
Explaining things to people a little more understanding.
Communicating. Explaining.
Learning how to type.
Learning how to type.
Right.
In my life.
Right. Well, one more over
A
you.
gauge of where you are now from where you was when you
You
got
can
here.
see a difference, can't you? Well, wait, how many guys attended a hero school and saw yourself different by the time it was over? Just in a single day. If that doesn't show you what your potential's like, right? You just needed the right combination of things to get it going. But you should always know that power in there, it was in there all along. Right? It's just there's a combination to get it out. Hey, every one of you guys could have $1 million at a major bank. I think only $250,000 is secured by the FDIC. But anyway, let's suppose you had $250,000 in that bank, okay? Do you still realize that even if it's your money in that bank, they're not going to give it to you unless you follow this certain combination lock of getting it out?
Yes, yes, I know.
Same is true with working anywhere but Idaho, right?
Don't put it in there.
You see?
Yeah.
So don't put it in there. So why? Because I'm too, what, lazy or afraid to follow it? Right? Right? Do you see? Right?
First question,
Yeah.
do you believe in that mattress money or do you put all your money in banks now?
I believe in both. Yeah, I believe in both.
I just want to.
Yeah, I believe in both. Why? Because I also know that credit and credit card is the only way you're gonna get rid of car.
Okay,
It's the only way you're gonna have more freedom.
Yes.
So I also know the debt of a credit card takes away your freedom, right? So you have to have both. So yeah.
Commercial or investment bank? Which would you choose?
Probably both. Yeah, probably both. Depends on what it is. Yeah, for the business banking is trust, so you leverage their money. See, my business, if so let's say one of my businesses might make 25% profit. So I have no trouble paying a bank 4% interest for me to make 25% using their money doing something else. Did you see? Right? Same is true at the very entry level, right? So you have to have a relationship with the bank. The only way to do that is to make more deposits and withdrawals.
Right.
So it can't all stay in your mattress, because what's your mattress going to give you back?
Nothing.
Bed bugs. No, I'm sorry. Right. Right.
Ultimately, I'll take a risk if your house burns.
Yeah, well, and certainly that's a risk. That's why hence the insurance part. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Is it a good investment? You take your 401k, everything changes to gold and put it somewhere where, not in this country, somewhere else. Is it a good investment?
Only in America, babe.
You know what? I think a 401k has so many benefits from the way the government tax structure is that the only thing I would probably do is take his idea on freedom, and now they have made 401ks portable, so you have choice. In other words, it doesn't just have to go through McDonald's. So here's what I would do. Because of that freedom, I would learn a little more, but I would say, I would find out who the investment company is that has at least $5 billion, and other people's money already on their books. And I would look at McDonald's managing my 401k. And I would just decide who's going to be the best for me. And make a choice. In the old days, you only had the choice of where you worked. That's where your 401k went. Okay? So now, however, there are investment companies that now maybe are more, I don't want to say riskier, but they get a better return on your 401k because they're actively working it. So that it was a choice of freedom now. But I would never go into another country with that money. What I've seen some people do, two things. So one of the things I was going to talk about. All right, let's talk about money for just a moment. Two things that I've seen people do based on the law, so that you're not breaking the law, you're just maximizing your time under the law. Remember, you're not evading taxes if you're willing to dance. You just have to decide, do you want to live or do you want to dance? Some people like to dance. So I've got a couple friends of mine, what they do is they see to it, they travel half the year. Because the law on taxes in the United States says if you're not a resident of this country for more than half the year, you pay less or pay whatever else. So they have property in Mexico, they have property in Europe, they're doing stuff elsewhere, and they love to travel and they can afford it. But they're primarily doing it because he's cheap and he doesn't want to pay a certain tax rate. Okay? Now the same is true now. I didn't know this when I became an entrepreneur. But gosh, the smartest thing you could do, even if you were an employee, is have a business. Right? Why? Because a business is profit, employee is wages. Okay? And wages, you pay 35 to 40% in taxes. And if you're an entrepreneur, you pay 18 to 20. And the reason there is you're providing jobs as an entrepreneur, an employee doesn't provide any jobs. So you're not providing more to the government that way. So that's why corporations get better tax rates, okay? So these are, again, choices. But my God, you want to pay a licensing fee and insurance on a company and yourself? Right? So you better make sure that that business is going to produce the money that outweighs the amount of costs. Now the last one is, here's what a lot of wealthy people are doing, since we're talking about offshore money. What they're doing is based on the simple idea that a credit card, a bank that issues a credit card, not only can offer variable rates based on your credit worthiness, your trustworthiness, which means if you're at a 730, you're going to pay 14% interest on your credit card, and if you're at a 650, we'll still give you a card, but you're going to pay 24% interest if you carry a balance. Okay. You still have the ability to rent a car and so forth, but if you carry a balance and borrow the money, you're going to pay 10% more. Now, the bank, if you put your money in a bank, you're going to get 1% interest tops. Okay? So, people who invest in credit card banks can make a larger percentage of money back than people who just put their money in a bank.
Why?
Because I'm making the money off you, off your credit card balance, not just making the money off the bank,
Yeah, but
off savings account balance.
when you're making payments, your payments, if you put 25 in on a payment, you only put 5. They had something on that. It's like the money goes here.
Oh, the interest versus the principal.
Yeah, well, that's the idea behind having more money yourself as then you have debt. Certainly, but we're talking about no debt, just the value of a credit card, and then do you put your money, your excess money, in a bank to draw 1%, or do you invest it to be part of that bank's ability to provide credit to other people? Then you're making a much higher percentage because they're making a higher percentage, right? You could risk it and put it into Google, but if Google went out of business, you'd lose all your money. You'd never lose it in a bank either way.
It's like being in stock.
You see, but you could also put in your $10 and it turned into $1 million. So greater risk, greater reward. All right, so, but here's the latest thing that people are doing once they teach you to start thinking about getting out of debt and don't get into debt till you have more money. What if you were loaning yourself the money to buy things instead of borrowing it from a credit card or bank? And what if, to borrow the money from yourself to buy the thing you wanted, you charged yourself interest?
That would be nice.
And that's exactly what the rich people do, is they set up themselves as a private bank. And then they get the value of charging, giving themselves the interest, just like they're a bank.
Private bank charge.
Yeah, they're just becoming themselves private banks. So then if they want something, what they do is they look at their own bank ability to loan it. But that just means you dedicate for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years to save and earn, to grow the amount of money. It's like a car. You want to buy a $30,000 car, you can buy that with $30,000 in the bank, right? If you don't, and you're paying somebody else interest, you're paying somebody else interest, right?
Your payments are there.
Well, you have a payment, otherwise you just pay it and you don't owe anything on it, right? But you know, so anyway, so the idea is that the next level of this is starting to shift your mind into thinking, wait, banks are private.
That's what Walmart's doing.
Who remembers the movie It's a Wonderful Life? That's why you're seeing lots of people, from Gap jeans to everyone, having issued credit cards. They're becoming banks.
Jimmy Stewart.
And then what they do is they really sign up a bunch of people who put their clothes on credit, and now they have people to sell to a bank. And they not only are making the money off the interest while they're selling the jeans to you on time, payment at a time on credit, now they're saying, hey, we own 300,000 people who are already paying this interest rate. How much are you willing to pay me for my people?
Yes.
And now you see these $2 billion sales of somebody's people.
Just like the bad mortgage, what they did to Wall Street.
Right? You see, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the day YouTube sold for $2 billion, why? It's because they had 1 million subscribers of a video channel. Someone's willing to pay for those subscribers because we can sell them other things. Are you mentally seeing it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of your pleasure and freedom is, I don't mind you buying a car on credit, picking on you. You buy a car on credit that's the right car that can help that job for the next year make you 3 times the money. Then it makes sense to make the car payment whatever the interest is, right? Because it's producing much more than it's costing. It's a cost of business. That's why businesses use good debt, right? It's the debt to be able to bring in the income in the first place. Without the car, you can't get the job. You can't get any income, let alone 3 times. What we're against is when we buy stuff that depletes from our ability to have them, right? And so that's why it's better just to start to figure out, okay, how do I save? What's my format for saving? And then how great is it when you buy the new car and it's cash and you don't have to pay it? In fact, the most joy will be when you're out with friends and they say, what are your car payments? You say, I don't have a car payment. You're talking about, I'm a bank.
Yeah.
So I say the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the movie from the 40s. I use that movie because there was a savings and loan, and then there was the bank. And the bank were the bad guys, but it was owned by this guy, Potter. And then here we have our hero, Jimmy Stewart's character,
The competitor.
right? And so all he wanted to do was loan a little money to her, which her money though, the money he's loaning came from your deposits, and your deposits, and your deposits. And we're able to get people into houses that are better than shacks, because everyone, it's a circle of life type thing. Certainly we're now in an age where, banks are big